Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope you guys are having a wonderful and a splendid day. Let's talk about what we've had happen in the market today. And actually from the big indexes, a little bit of stubbornness as uncertainty is starting to come into the market because we have key inflationary PCE data that will be released this Thursday. And the market is taking a look at it, and they could be getting a little scared if the trend for a hotter than expected inflation report continues to deliver across the global macroeconomic situation. Now, talking about Palantir, does a great job actually holding support and outpacing the market today. We're going to be specifically looking at some key metrics and also taking a deeper dive into some of the things that could be happening down the line. Now, if you are a new or a returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. And of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now, before we get too far, has anybody out there in the world seen this insane clip of Alex Karp taking up this book right here and just spitting it on his fingers? This is how you know this man is serious and he means money, because he's flipping up the spaghetti talking about Palantir. I've never seen anything like that. Okay, now let's actually get serious. Let's talk about what we got going on in the markets. Just wanted to share that fun daily joke with you guys because that's kind of interesting to see. I've never seen anybody do that before. Now, with PLTR closing at 23.56, what we see on trading volume at 46 million, slightly under the average 3-month volume. Market cap right now sitting at 51 billion, looking healthy. Yesterday, and in terms of actual Friday's trading session, not yesterday, the day, a few days before Friday's trading session, we had Palantir that was at this like 22.95 area. You can see this micro level of support that has been established here and was great for PLTR as we saw this acceleration and some buying pressure to push this back into the mid 23s. And what you see here is as this point of resistance has been tested today, this was a previous micro level of support. Now, the reason why I keep saying micro on this area is because this price zone has not experienced a ton of trading patterns and trading history in recent times. Getting above the 20s here and holding above the 20s here is a great accomplishment for PLTR, but this is after we've seen that hyper and exponential growth after the amazing Q4 earnings report. When Palantir is up over 50%, in the last 6 months here, so PLTR is finding its grounding at these new highs. And if it can explore these different areas of support and resistance and consolidate in this area, building a foundation here, that could be really important. And this goes and tails here looking at NVIDIA that is continuing to test this $800 level of resistance. Palantir right now does have a little bit of a reliance on NVIDIA, in my opinion, because they are the major mover and momentum maker in the AI industry. Now let's cut to see what we do have in the going on in the market today, especially like I said, we have the major indexes, S&P 500, Dow Jones, you got the NASDAQ, all down slightly, just a small amount in the day. Stepping back here, as like I said, a lot of the market is waiting to see the actual Thursday's PCX index reading. Now, the PCE Index reading, not PCX, is the Federal Reserve preferred inflation gauge. And the reading is really going to factor into the ongoing debate and the timing of the future rate cuts. Remember, in the beginning of 2024, and I think even right before, and then when November really started the rally in the market here, a lot of investors were pricing in a 6 to 7 multiple rate cuts throughout the year of 2024. This probability has tanked, as the probability now for March is that rate cuts might not be happening, and they might stay steady. And even the bigger fear that's out there in the market is what happens if there's a rate hike. Now, what we do have, and with NVIDIA, is this inflation data is going to have a big impact on the staying power of the breakout rally, because we have to see how far NVIDIA has up even after they smashed their earnings. So right now, holding steady, I could see this happening, or even possibly a little bit of a pullback as people are wondering what's going to be happening here with the inflation report since this is going to be the highlight of this week's data. And also, this is going to give checks on the consumer and the manufacturing reports. And what they say about the health regarding the U.S. economy might be very either bullish or it could be detrimental, as it could determine what the future outlook for some of the more speculative plays are out there, and AI falls within that. Now let's talk about PLTR, getting more specifically looking at the stock. We talked about the micro levels of the support for PLTR. As we trickle down over here to options, you can see actually a decent amount of a call volume, 20,000 actually at the $24 strike price for end of the week expirations. So even encompassing that in anticipating PCE inflation report, looking at that index, you do have a lot of bullish investors that are still betting that PLTR is going to increase in price in the near-term future. This is great, especially as there's a lot of confidence behind PLTR, but also there are some puts that I don't think should be ignored. We do acknowledge the people that are taking a bearish position on this. One thing that we do see in the media here that's been outlook and what's actually kind of been pinpointing, highlighting in today's market is that Palantir Technologies short interest. Now, saying here that the short percent of the float has risen 11.8% since the last report, and now the company reports that it has 114 million shares sold short. This is a total of 6% of the shares of the float. And at right now, this is 2.78 days to cover. This means if all the shares all the shorts wanted to cover their positions, with the current trading volume, it would take 2.7 days for all of those shorts to cover positions. Where we sit in terms of that 6.03% and rising 11.87%, this is not a shocking number to me right now. And because Palantir has really experienced, like I said, a large growth in the recent past, there are people that are going to be saying, hey, this is a very overvalued stock. Coming in here, you can see valuations are very high. Seeking Alpha gives it an F score. And we're right here, the price to earning on gap at 91.88, looking at its valuation grade. And if we go back to comparing how Palantir Technologies compares with short interest to other types of stocks within its peer group in that same SaaS sector, industry sector, you can see here the actual group average is at 2.86%. So they come in basically nearly about double. But like I said, this, in my opinion, is likely due to the large increase that we have seen. As Palantir grows into a higher valuation, naturally, you're going to see more people anticipating that pullback and switching their positions in the short term more to a bearish position and therefore taking a short position. I always see the actual price increase right here, the percentage increase right here. However, in the long term, not talking about short interest right now, not talking about the PCE Index data that we do have that's going to be coming out on Thursday, one thing that I'm liking already, next earnings, that's still a long way away. Don't really need to be focusing hyper on that right now. That's at May 8th. But one great thing that we are seeing at the earnings per share revisions in the last 90 days are continuing to rise. This is really bullish. A lot of analysts actually depend on this data as a pretty concrete piece of evidence for what the price targets are. And we see this right here in the last 90 days. We have 16 earning per shares in terms of actually bullish direction. And we see 0 in the bearish direction. So great to see here. And especially, like I said, as Palantir is continuing to grow, awesome to see that we're seeing the revisions that are continuing to grow in the bullish direction. One great interesting fact that I saw here about Palantir's potential down the line. I'm talking about the next decade now. I'm not talking about this Thursday. I'm talking about going all the way down the line within a long-term hold. Is that Palantir Technologies is continuing to dive into that commercial sector. We talked about this. We've seen this in the earnings reports. We've seen this, that 70% big growth number. Commercial and customer count is continuing to grow. One cool thing that I saw is that the company ended 2023 with only 375 commercial accounts, and there are 350,000 large corporations worldwide. Now, nonetheless, Palantir does cost a lot of money. Top 20 customers for PLTR here, according to Motley Fool, they spend over $55 million annually on average. So that software is not going to fit into every budget. I agree with that in its entirety. However, just tapping into just a slight percentage of that 350,000 large corporations that would like to use Palantir in its future, you could see the potential for growth right now. And I think that does a great job bringing reality to how far Palantir is still within its infancy. And if they continue to pose great earnings reports, if they continue to have that gap profitability that accelerates PLTR, and of course, everybody's been talking about the S&P 500 inclusion, when that does happen, we could see a lot more bullish momentum coming into PLTR. Other than that, that's all that I have for you guys. Let me know, what do you think down in the comments? What's going to be happening in the market this week? Do you think we're going to see a little bit of a pullback here with that inflation report? Do you think it's going to be hotter than expected? Do you think we're going to see a trend that would cause the Fed to make some major decisions in their interest rate cuts? Peace out. Take care, and I'll catch you guys later.